I created with the deceased Nejat Eczacıbaşı nearly 40 years ago an institution called TESEV, Türkiye Ekonomik Sosyal Etüdler Vakfı. It's a foundation. And then about 12 years ago, with my good old friend George Soros, we created the Open Society of Turkey, Açık Toplum Vakfı, Türk Açık Toplum Vakfı, which is also funded by New York Open Society. Now, why did I choose a different path? Because of my background, I spent in Sweden for nearly 3 years. I went to Sweden after my military service, and I was working as a welder worker in Motala Verkstad. And then I became a member of the Social Democratic Party youth movement in Stockholm. And I used to go to their evening meetings, and I met all the young generation of Swedes for the social democracy in Sweden has been extremely successful. And when you say social democracy, it has a social aspect, and then it has a democratic aspect. And democracy in Sweden, as you probably know, is one of the highest, with the highest respect for human beings and especially for women. So the 3 years I spent in Sweden have made me. I became myself in Sweden. I became part of the Swedish mentality. And with this, I brought back all these principles of transparency, honesty, respectability, good name, good relationship with other human beings. And then having this urge to serve the society you are in. And then instead of going the normal way of building schools and building universities, already at a very young age, as I said, 40 years ago, I thought that I would contribute to the elevation of the standard of democratic thinking of a new generation of Turks, which I make part of, I belong. And this was a kind of a
driving force.
Search for a better life, because I had a very difficult life during my young days, with my father having gone into bankruptcy because of the varlık vergisi, a terrible mistreatment of all the minorities, the Armenians, Greeks, and Jews. So he made bankrupt. And that's the reason why I couldn't go to any university. I hardly had the opportunity to finish the Saint-Michel Lycée. This has been a quest throughout my life. I had a mentor in this small town, Motala. He was an aristocrat, a doctor, a very rich aristocratic family, but he was taking care of the workers in that small town in Sweden. And we somehow became friends, most probably because he had a very beautiful daughter. And he became very close to me. He really liked me. And one day he said something which I never forgot. He said, I'm analyzing your way of thinking, he said, and I am convinced that you will one day become a very successful businessman, he said. You have this in your genes, he said. And being very successful, you will also become very rich. But if becoming rich will put limits to your ability to express your thoughts freely, then you will find out that the money you have created or the wealth you have created has become a golden cage, a prison where you have gone willingly. So be careful not to fall into the trap of creating your own prison. And I never forgot this. He became my mentor throughout life in this direction. That's the reason why I appear very often on TV programs, and I talk about democracy and human rights and peaceful negotiations in the Southeast and coming to a peaceful solution, and then equality and not being, as I said, the other, and not being, not seeing me Yahudi and then human being, but being human being first and then maybe. And this is a quest throughout life, and it gives me a kick to see that I progress. I can see that the new generation is changing, not only because of this instilling of a mental change, but also because the world is changing. The whole world. Now go to London, you will see more foreigners than Londoners. And the same thing is happening here. So I'm a very happy man in this respect that I did not build a university. I'm building a lycée in Çatalca for the biotechnology medical research for youngsters. But I'm not aiming at any university.